Hey friends, good morning. Our story for Monday and Tuesday is called Big Moon Tortilla. Let's read about this. It's by Joy Cowley and illustrated by Diane Strongbow. Big Moon Tortilla. By the time Marta Inos had finished her homework, the sky was orange with sunset, and a fussing wind was blowing across the desert. I bet she worked hard to get that homework. It probably took her all day. Marta Inos opened her window and looked outside. In the cookhouse, Grandmother was making tortillas for the church supper. She slapped them into large circles and tossed them onto the iron plate over the mesquite fire. Grandmother's Big Moon tortillas were the best in the world. I think that's a fact or an opinion that her tortillas were the best in the world. I would have to say that's an opinion. You can't prove that they're the best in the world because maybe I like my grandmother's tortillas and she likes her grandmother's tortillas. That's our opinions. But I want you to look really closely at Grandmother's cookhouse. How is the cookhouse? What do you think the cookhouse is? I think it's some sort of kitchen, but it doesn't really look like my kitchen. Does that look like your kitchen? It makes me kind of think, I wonder when this story's taking place so that her grandmother's cooking in a cookhouse. Interesting. Sorry about the glare. The head of Marta Inos was filled with the knowing of fresh tortillas. Oh, that sweet, crisp, little bit burnt smell. It went to Marta's stomach, which rumbled and growled, and then on down to her feet, making her toes twitch toward the cookhouse. The legs of Marta Inos would not wait another minute. They were in such a hurry to run to the cookhouse that they knocked over Marta's table, and that is when a disaster happened. I feel like they're appealing to our sense of smell. All their descriptions make me think about the smell of a tortilla and how yummy that would be. The homework papers, with their neat writing and beautiful drawings, went out the window and onto the breath of the fussing wind. The wind huffed the papers high into the air. Then, with a little cough, it spread them over the village. Friends, what is a fussing wind? What do you think that might be? A fussing wind. I think it's a pretty breezy time if it took her homework, rushed it out the window, and then all through the village. But I like to think of this as what we call personification. It's like they take the wind and they give it human characteristics. They say that it's fussing, like a baby might do, and it huffed the papers into the air, like one of us might do. Then the wind gave a little cough. Does the wind really cough? No, that's personification. It's taking an object that's not a person and giving it characteristics like a person has. The legs of Marta Inos were sorry for their mistake, and they ran out to chase the homework papers, which slipped and slid like kites without string. Hope you're using imagery, your mind's eye, to create a picture of that. What might that look like? Her papers looked like kites without strings. But the dogs, too, were chasing. Leaping into the air, they barked to each other, "A game! A game!" In no time at all, the beautiful homework papers were torn and chewed into trash. Kind of reminds me of some dogs I know. The second disaster happened when Marta tried to pull a page away from a puppy. Her glasses fell off. She stepped on them. One arm of her glasses broke in half. The arm of her glasses are going to be this part right here. And glasses aren't much good without those arms. She did not smell tortillas anymore. Her head was filled up to her eyes with grief and tears as hot as chili peppers. Ruined homework, broken glasses. Marta Inos ran to her grandmother. Why do you think she ran to her grandmother? I think she was probably sad and she was looking for comfort, and that must mean that she loves her grandmother very much and her grandmother loves her, if that's who she's running to for comfort. Grandmother left her tortillas and sat down, as big as a bed and warm from the cooking. As she smoothed Marta's hair with her floured hands, she said, "Hush, hush. If you cry so much, you'll put out the fire. The dogs ate my homework and I can't see to do any more," Marta sobbed. I think a feeling that she might be having would be like hopeless, like she doesn't know how to solve this problem. Grandmother rocked her. "Little problems," she said, "too small for a big rainstorm. We'll repair your glasses." But the tears of Marta Inos still ran through her eyes and nose and made hiccups in her throat. What do you think Grandmother's referring to when she says big rainstorms? I think she's thinking of it as Marta's tears. That's what we might call a metaphor when you're comparing one thing to another. So Grandmother sang to her an old healing song, and with the healing song, there was a story. When we have a problem, we must choose what we will be. Sometimes it is good to be a tree, to stand up tall in the desert and look all ways at once. Sometimes it is best to be a rock, to sit still, seeing nothing and saying nothing. Sometimes when you have a problem, you have to be a strong mountain lion, fierce and ready to fight for what is right. Sometimes the wisest thing is to be an eagle and fly. When the eagle is high up, it sees how small the earth is. It sees how small the problem is, and it laughs and laughs. So what would it mean, or why do you think Grandmother gave her so many choices? She said you could be a tree. That way you could see everything. You could look in all directions, kind of weigh your options. You could be a rock in which you just sit still and do nothing. I think that offers you time to think. You could be a mountain lion. That means sometimes in situations we have to fight back. Or you can be an eagle and soar high above, and you can see how small the problem really is. Marta's feeling like this is a really big problem, but in the grand scheme of things, it's really just a small problem. It can be solved. Grandmother wound some tape around the arm of the glasses. She put the glasses back on the nose and ears of Marta Inos. "That should be okay until we get them fixed," she said. "Now, one tortilla before supper?" You think Marta's feeling better? She's got one problem solved. Her glasses are fixed for now. She still needs to think about that homework, though. Grandmother pinched a ball of dough and slapped it between her hands. Flip-flap, flip-flap, flip-flap. When it was as big and pale as the rising full moon, she dropped it into the iron plate above the red-hot coals of the fire. Oh, the smell of the tortilla bubbled and browned. Again, it's appealing to our sense of smell. I have decided, said Marta Inos, her legs doing a tortilla dance. I am going to be the eagle. Grandmother nodded. That is very wise, she said, turning the tortilla over. Fly high and laugh. Then come back and do your homework. Do you think it's a good idea that Grandmother gave her so many choices and not just say, hey, you need to laugh about this? I think it's a good idea because it let Marta decide for herself how to solve the problem. And this is an author's note at the end of the book. I shall never forget the time I spent on a Tejano Odom Papago reservation in southern Arizona near the Mexican border. This story is set in one of the small villages there. Grandmother's words of advice come from an old native saying, which vary slightly among the different tribes of the southern states. Like Marta Inos, perhaps you will remember Grandmother's advice the next time you have a problem. So this is almost like the retelling of an Indian folktale. Friends, I hope you enjoyed our book. Please do your reader response questions starting tomorrow.